The adventure of the unspeakable story. Alright. Guys, this stays within the stream. We don't talk about this case outside of stream. I don't want you guys talking about it on Discord. I don't want to go on Discord seeing it. I don't want you guys calling me up talking about this. This is the unspeakable story. We don't talk about it.
Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited breathlessly in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared.
It appeared.
From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us.
It's a wolf.
A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames.
It's a Pokemon. I solved it.
Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear.
Oh wait, imagine if that's the killer in this case. It's a dog.
Declared, gazing upon the mystical beast.
Mystical beast.
For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles.
The Baskervilles. Again, Colonel, I'm glad you are watching, like, every episode and not the condensed version, because I think in the condensed version, they, like, you don't get to see any of that stuff take place. Like, it moves so quickly. That's why I'm glad you are watching, like, every episode. That did interest you a bit, even though the artwork was really creepy. Dude, wait till you get to the fights. The fights are so cool because they'll do like a palette change and stuff like that. I love any fight in those shows. Up in the hometown, of course. Of course. I was code. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. And that discerning courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country. And in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. Oh no. I'm glad they got a break here. We were in February, now we're in April, so they got a couple months off. Naruto's legal consultancy. Oh, look at that. I can't wait to see what their office looks like. Do they get to spruce it up in 2 months? Okay, look at that. They got some tables. They got their own little desks. I like, Sasato's has to be the one, like, closer up. The neat, organized one. And the one in the back. Oh, yeah, that's ours. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone... Oh, hey. Sato-san's behavior became very, obviously strange. Sato-san? Yes? Is it time to leave for our court already? Whoa. You love how Sasato has a flower on her desk? I like that too. It's a nice little... I don't want to call that a tablecloth. I don't know what that is. But that is a cool pattern on that. Let's see, what case is it today? And an orange. I like, on the shelves. I don't know what those are called. I forgot. It starts with a D. Duraman? Or Durama? Durama? Something along the lines of that. I remember in the last case where Inosuke said that was his like lucky item he brought with him. So that's cool that you actually see it in the background. I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Shom's suite? Daruma doll, that's it. That's it. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And she's only 10 years old. I just want to add that. And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. Alright. Let's just go ahead and converse. But no, hang on. I want to look around in case we don't get the chance to later. Oh, that's supposed to be the telegram. Let's see.
Ah, no! You mustn't look at that. Under no circumstances.
Oh, alright, I won't.
I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but you can be very mischievous at times.
And put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. Dude, it's on her desk. Like, that already is like, it's not like out in the open. Oh, really? We can't like make note of her like stuff? Okay. We've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already.
You could tidy up once in a while.
Sasato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies. And time spent tidying up is time you can't devote to the same cause.
And time spent on ridiculous arguments, it's time that could be better spent on some simple housework.
Oh, they're fighting like a married couple already. She wins. And I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. Like, she's the woman of the house, alright? I don't care what position you have, sir. She's always gonna win. Ah, the Daruma doll I brought with me from home. Still, with only one eye colored in. I said I'd color the other eye once I won my first court case here in Britain, but...
But you have one, haven't you? Twice, in fact.
Because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. So we only had those 2 cases since then? Okay. Tell you what, why don't you color the other eye in once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer? You're just trying to get her to do the work.
If you insist.
She's kind of hot. She's really cute. She's really cute. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well. In the anemones, too. Anemone. Anemone.
It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea behind glass inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatness.
Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great, though, is it? Nah, it never is. It's probably why my fish always died. Nah. Taking care of fish... You can argue me now, alright? Taking care of fish is really tough. It is not the easiest pet to take care of. I will fight you on that. If you properly take care of them, I would add. Like, if you're just doing like a general feeding them, yeah, that's easy, but you're not actually taking good care of them. You're just, you know, feeding them. It's a lot of work to keep a fish alive. You know, I've never seen inside your room there, Sasato-san. I've never even peeped inside.
I should think so too. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know.
Whatever you say, young maiden. You got the tea ready. It's spring at last and the weather is warmer now. I love the smell of fire and the steam rising from the kettle.
Oh, would you like some tea, Naruto-san?
Thank you, Sasato-san, but I'm alright for now. The green tea Sasato-san makes me from time to time and Iris's unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise for a true tea lover. Oh, I would love to be there. Just green tea right now sounds heavenly.
Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think?
Oh, why am I jealous of these fictional characters right now? So this is the tea set that Sasato-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk into my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Yeah, I can't never really drink tea by itself. I usually gotta add honey or sugar in mine. I'll sometimes drink it just plain, but yeah.
Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruto-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know? I don't like to see you screw up your face, so...
Oh, okay. The ladder. We haven't gotten to our ladder yet. There better be a ladder in this game that we can conversate about and have a debate about. That spade has been here since we started renting the place.
Oh, that's not a spade, Naruto-san. It's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose materials. It's a spade. Wait. Is this our new ladder, step ladder thing right here?
No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel.
Oh, ironic. I literally just brought up the ladder thing, not knowing they were gonna argue about this. I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Spade versus shovel. Oh man. I think that was it. It looked like it was. That's funny. Alright, well, you know what? I'm not going to complain about the ladder. We got that. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. I think that's a shovel. Yeah, I agree. That's a shovel. Team shovel.
Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about.
It's right there on your desk. If you're gonna lie, at least lie convincingly. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Hashtag Team Shovel.
Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram.
That's 3 times now she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing.
I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point.
Alright, I understand. Wonder if it has anything to do with home. I suppose Saseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Oh yeah, that's true. It is about like a 2-month journey.
Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal.
Can you imagine, like, if you could just travel back in time and tell these people that aerial transportation exists and you could basically get around the country in like a day or so over 2 months? Which would mean he
should have completed the voyage already, or just be a few days away.
A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him. Do you remember? Complaining of seasickness? Well, let me guess. It was like, surely seasickness. So sucky. He wouldn't say sucky. They be shooketh. So shooketh. Hey, there we go. Inadvertently, you came up with the word I needed. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well.
Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san?
I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London? That's all.
You mean, as regards Lord Von Zykes, the Reaper?
As I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. I still think Zykes wouldn't have gone after him. Because even at the end of the case, he was siding with us. Like, he obviously knew that, like, it was the housewife, Garadeb, that did it. I don't think he would have tried to, like, kill Soseki, you know? It was different when McGlide it, because we all were aware he was the bad person in that case. The Reaper. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? I wonder if he's going to be the prosecutor the entire time for this final case. Usually in Ace Attorney games, it's always like a different person who's the prosecutor, or like halfway throughout the case it might be someone different. I wonder if it's going to be the same here or not. Like the way that Nightmare's trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. I think the only time that wasn't the case was Apollo Justice. And that was it.
Even 2 months on, the causes of that dreadful fire is still a mystery.
Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means
that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps?
Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding.
The legend of the Reaper is to be believed it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself.
Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. Yeah, Clavier.
No, I don't think so.
Jigsaw, were you a simp for Clavier too?
Apparently Lord Von Sykes hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter.
Oh?
Yes, since Soseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems.
Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who's had to face him in recent spate of trials then. Ugh, just my luck.
Wonder if luck doesn't come into it.
Sorry? What was that?
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
Alright, let's go get that brekkie, huh? Let's go get some good breakfast. Let's eat some bacon and some like pancakes or something.
Morning, Bruno. Morning, Susie.
Maybe.
Good morning, Iris.
Oh. Oh. That's Sholmes practicing, isn't it? It's not that bad. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Iris?
What is it, Bruno?
What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Oh, is that so, Jigsaw? My bad, I didn't know that was a rule.
Oh, yes, you noticed that, did you?
Oh, please. Wait, his machine's gone.
Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems.
Oh, thank God. Thank God it stopped. Hello. Oh.
Hello, Mr. Sholmes?
Good morning. What's wrong with him? Good morning to die, perhaps. Something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable in the way you were playing the violin before. Ugh. My analytical mind is dead. Music's dead. The world is dead. Darn this Blanche existence. That's all it is, my dear fella. Nothing of consequence. Who put you in a circle of sadness there, buddy?
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Oh, there's a kitty. Wait, that's that same cat! Oh look, it's Wagahai. Wagahai. Good morning, boy.
Or good morning, boy. Meow.
Must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. How did it get there? I totally forgot that cat from the last case.
Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris.
It would indeed be a fine day to die. Yo, Lunar owns Twitch. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the Silver Squad. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. It's kind of hard to miss that, huh? Wanting to die. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that, in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melosonic tones would make flowers bloom. It would? But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
For hours I've bowed, for days even, through the night I have endeavored to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. Okay, you kind of got a little bit of Soseki rubbed off on you, huh? That posing.
Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley?
Don't worry, I'm sure it'll come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man, the next they mercifully withdraw it. Oh, dear. Ugh, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left for pity's sake? What is left? Sir, you're a detective. Okay. Deduction perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? It's gotta be more than to it than just the violin, right?
Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today.
Oh, well done, Miss Sasato. Your observational skills do you credit.
Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours.
You struggle not to notice, wouldn't you?
You mean Haley's great analystoscope? That's at Winderley Banks now.
Sorry? It's at a windy bank?
No, Wendy's Bank, the pawnbrokery.
Oh no, is he like out of money?
Pawn? What?
You mean you pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see. Quite undeservingly. Well, anyone would buy that at a pawn shop, though? I feel like you should have sold it to, like, a scientific research team or something. Not a pawn shop.
But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I did wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed with what little income I have to you.
Dear madam, things are far from desperate.
But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate?
Making use of a pawnbroker is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. Do they treat it like you just borrow money and then pay it back or something and get your item back? Like a loan? What's to understand exactly? Okay. I am a bit confused here, but I'll see more, I guess. Sorry. Just trying to reach and grab my drink. What do you mean when you say we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokers are akin to banks. Yeah, okay, so it is like a loan shark business, or almost. Probably not loan shark, but it kind of seems like that. I don't know.
Thanks.
On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. Okay.
And then on Saturdays, when they go to recover their things using the money they earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London.
And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise.
Oh, how ingenious.
Yeah, it's too much of a risk for me. I wouldn't want that.
So, whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windy Banks, you see?
There was nothing else you would deem in the way? I mean, at least that was on like a desk. Look at all the other stuff you got lying around your house. Pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain.
Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things you really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley?
Like the machine? I don't know. I feel like that's too important to have someone else look after it for a bit. Doesn't matter. The world is dead to me now. Oh. Oh, maybe we gotta click on her. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home then.
Oh yes, and I've become very attached to little Wacky.
He didn't take it back with him? What the heck? You just leave your cat in another country? It appears previous owners completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures, their mews as empty as the hearts of the muses.
If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place.
I would expect he would have taken him if he could. The pets are strictly forbidden on board steamships in our experience. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed.
Yeah, like our friend dying. Wait, what?
Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable.
Yes, he really is. And yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from?
Oh, you noticed? You're observant, Aruno. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention.
What? What is that?
I call it the cat flapper-mat.
The flap-o-mat?
Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats?
Waggy is cute. I agree, he is kind of cute.
That's right. It can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy and Suckets. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see.
So, like, are we talking, like, steel iron doors, too? Would it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap?
Well, yes, maybe, but now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris.
Yeah, I'm sure the landlord lady's okay with this. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. I think that's really nice. You make it once. Like, look, you spend the time to make the invention. After that, you're set for life. It's a lot easier. Now, about that brekkie. Can we get our breakfast now?
Yo, what was that?
Wagahai? Oh no, it just got to the violin. What was that?
Oh no! My guy's tangled up in your violin! I think he thinks it's a toy!
No, what's he doing to it? Oh, poor Sholmes.
Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin!
Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Man.
Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Hurley?
Out of the cat's reach if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Doesn't look like it's messed up. I think it's fine. Oh, okay, just one little wire. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down in nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. Still sounds like a lot to me, though. How honorable of you. And until today has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I've made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music, to tolerate this blanched existence? No. There is none. Okay.
Mr. Sholmes?
What, dear madam, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine.
Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think?
What do you mean, Miss Sasato?
Oh, Susie's right! Yes, the tone of the wood is completely different. No, that's not at all. I'm sure there was no crack here before.
Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? Did someone swap out his violin? What's this?
I'm terribly sorry to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all.
What? Then...
I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola.
What? Oh.
Mr. Sholmes, are you alright?
You're right! You're quite right! This isn't my faithful Stradivarius! So what? Pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then? How did he not notice that? I feel like he would have noticed.
Oh, I see what must have happened.
You do, Iris?
This is just a simple mix-up.
Sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what's happened if we ask her. Oh, my lord. How could you not notice this is not... That's what I'm saying. I get if, like, maybe you're just looking at it, you know, you just see it from far away, but the fact that he was playing with it, you would feel it would be a different size, right? I don't know. What do you mean by a mix-up, Iris?
Well, you see, this viola I made was at Wendy Banks until last week.
Oh.
At the pawnbrokers?
Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved music partner. There is a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Is that so?
Yes, indeed.
So you send your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope that it would experience a personal growth?
Oh, what a wonderful idea.
No, that's crazy. Last week I pawned my great analystoscope in order to release my precious instrument. It would appear my Windy Bank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. It's ripping you off. My ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Pshaw! A fine statement of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo. Never trust a pawnbroker, they will try to fiddle you every time. Well, you shouldn't be putting your valuable possessions at a pawnbroker's shop to begin with.
But earlier it turns out you could think of a pawnbrokery as an extremely secure vault.
Come, Mr. Naruhodo, dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that bacon aspect, pressing your coffee so obtusely. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? No. I'm gonna sit here and drink my coffee and eat my toast, and you can go get your actual violin back, okay? Everyone makes mistakes.
We must visit Mr. Windybank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes?
Precisely, Mr. Sato. Without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. Oh, come on. At least let the man finish the bacon. Come on. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to fresh your eggs ever more obtusely. All right. Say no more. Let's go then. Oh, my food.
Don't worry, Rudo. I'll be happy to hit it up for you again later.
Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker looks like. Alright, let's go. You could go to Baker Street, too. Alright, well, guess we just go here. You can take the bacon... You're right! Like, literally, it's bacon. Just bring it with you. You can munch it down the street or something. Okay, I'm noticing that calendar all the way to the right. Is that supposed to be April 15th or 13th? I don't know. Because it's April 15th today, but it kind of looks like a 3 from here. I know it's covered. I'm already like... I'm sorry. Y'all gonna make fun of me for this, but I know we haven't even found a dead body yet. I'm already trying to find clues to something that doesn't exist yet in our eyes. I skipped Baker Street. Was there something interesting there? I could go back real quick if there's something there. I'll try to go like as soon as I get free reign again. So this is a British pawnbrokery.
Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before.
Oh, Sasato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. Can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? Get the impression you enjoy places like this?
Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand. It's a real thrill for me.
My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes?
We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of his fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. You love how it says the April 15th and TechSucks immediately questioned the calendar. Look, you would think it would say April 15th because today is April 15th, but it looked like I know it was half covered up, but for my eyes, I immediately saw the number 3. I don't know, Jigsaw. I'm already, I'm telling you, my brain's just trying to look for clues for things. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruto, and it's time to inform Mr. Windybank of our ire. Come, the fight is afoot. Alright, hang on, sir. I have to see something real quick. I gotta know what that's. What are you doing, my dear fellows? We're not here to browse for interesting curios. Okay.
Oh, but there are just so many fascinating items like that calendar.
Oh my god. If anyone's ever seen Once Upon a Time, the TV show, they got Geppetto's parents up in here. It's a reference if anyone's seen that show. The doll's down there. Looks as though we'll have to talk to Mr. Windybank first before you can explore and hear Mr. Sato. Alright. But the corner looks like a 5 because it's kind of pointy. Wait. Okay, I could kind of see it. But you see, I was also thinking because it's pointy that it's like a 3. Alright, you know what? They got Ryunosuke and Susato doing a shovel/spade. Me and Jigsaw over here talking about if that's a 3 or a 5. Alright, hang on, we're gonna go to Baker Street real quick. We got a fellow oncer here. Heck yeah. Super long ago. Yeah, remember in the season 1? Geppetto's parents accidentally got turned into puppets. Look at all the different things here in the window of the shop.
No, that's Windybank's, the pawnbrokery.
Looks much smaller than a pawnbroker in Japan, doesn't it? Hashtag Team 5.
Yes, you're right. I find pawn shops at home rather inapproachable, personally.
Reminds me of tearfully parting with my favorite fountain pen. I felt so miserable.
What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, Mr. Naruto.
I found a hidden Mickey. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Shom's office. Wow, what are the chances that we live right next door to the pawn shop? Still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. It's a nice outside looking building.
Oh, I know. To actually be showing combinations with the world's greatest detective? If I ever find myself before a court of law now, I'll have not one regret.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to defend you, of course. Okay. Kind of sad. There's not much to look at here. Ah, that's it. Okay. Maybe we'll do something there later. It really reminds you of Professor Layton and Lady Layton. I could see that. I know. I don't remember Unwound Future too much, but definitely the beginning of Diabolical Box. Yeah. Here, let's show off that armband. Look at me! I didn't even press examine this time. Oh, this is already a good case so far. Mr. Windybank, about this. Let me see. Give you 2pence for it. No, I don't want to pawn it. I don't really know what voice to really give him. Alright, let's see how old he is. I'm gonna go with 45. 48! Close! Close. Proprietor of a pawnbrokery on Baker Street that is regularly patronized by Mr. Sholmes. He has a very great sense of responsibility to his clients. Round of applause for not pressing examine. It's a good accomplishment. Oh yeah, he's not gonna let me examine anything. It took me only 5 cases, but I finally know to push the right button this time. Naturally, you recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windybank. The color of the wood is different, it has holes in it, it's not even the same size.
A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes.
Yeah, ours.
I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me, and it's an excusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends.
Is he gonna run into the... What the heck? Get that gun out of here. What? Jesus!
I shall have to take my own life.
Oh my god. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? Wow, he's very calm about that.
If I may just say one thing before I pop off.
Examine everything before you examine the thing in the back there, the brown thing with the gold circle? Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I'll definitely examine everything else first. Yes?
It was you, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe.
Sorry?
As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, ah, here it is.
Oh, you did? Oh, Sholmes, you didn't.
And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir.
Viola, sorry.
However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me.
No, 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 stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine.
Phew. It appears that the fight is over.
I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windybank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. The way he just falls, it is very funny.
Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Herlock Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you?
Haha, I do believe you may be right, sir. Ha 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 ha. It's either laugh or cry, I suppose.
You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I need to remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past.
Oh, peculiar items?
In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of Eponymous Roke, the novels of Herlock Sholmes, or some such.
Oh my, a new full-fledged novel? And unpublished? A story I've yet to read, you mean?
Ah, forgive me.
Wait, before you die, you must tell me more. Oh, jeez. Alright. I'm sure now we can probably look around, right? Okay, so I'm assuming this is the thing you're saying not to examine yet. Wait, why is everything checked off? Oh, there's still... Okay, so I still can't look at anything yet. Let me just see. Okay, yeah, okay. I must know more. Tell me everything. Master Saddleson is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? She's gonna go, like, cause, like, a ruckus trying to find it.
Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see.
I'd like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windybank.
For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more.
It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript?
A man's about to shoot himself and you just want to examine. Hey, it's better than Sasato. He's about to shoot himself and she's like, wait, before you die. As in, she's not gonna stop him killing himself. She just wants to know the facts about the book. Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here.
And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom.
Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this. I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely.
Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life.
It's all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something?
Ah, a gentleman from the east, I see. Yes, that's sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it.
I'm not trying to give up my suit, thank you very much.
Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull.
Sorry?
Aha, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say?
Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? No, keep your clothes on.
How interesting.
I don't feel as though I suffered some sort of defeat here. Actually, I was hoping to ask you but about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London.
Yes, so indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishments as you described. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure stowage. If in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned.
What happens if they don't pay you the money? Then he just repossesses it in a sense, I would assume.
Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me.
So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed then?
That's right, ma'am, that's right, which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all.
Very idea, Mr. Windybank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. There's a man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. Yeah, for real. Let's not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? Engineered a simple device which Mr. Windybank has installed here in his shop. I call it the red-handed recorder. So, like, fingerprints, huh? Is that not so, Mr. Windybank?
Ha!
What was that deep sigh about? Red-handed recorder. Hey, Krisha. What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are 2 just below the ceiling. Oh, a camera.
I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device.
Very astute. There's indeed a camera furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. At every 30 minutes per sightseeing, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Okay, but that's a long time frame that someone can go and take something. Oh, it's alright, Krisha.
Here, I have an example I can show you.
Okay. Look at the dog. Ah, yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. It developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness. Really? That's extraordinary. Well, yeah, why does this take better pictures than my camera phone? What the heck?
Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look.
4 a.m. So you see where someone enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed.
But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals?
Indeed, as you say, my dear madam.
Then what if the incident were to occur in between times?
Yeah. One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. What, twist of fate? there's a greater chance of them doing it in between intervals than they are doing it on the dot.
I must confess, your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Windybank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word.
It's the cost of the film, sir.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that's the case, then this ain't worth it.
You must graciously place not one but 2 cameras in my shop, after all. Which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older.
Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, no. My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security comes at a price.
Oh, heaven help us.
Can I look around your shop now?
Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin.
Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windybank.
Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you tried to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer.
I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt.
Fear not.
Sorry?
I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be unharmed.
That's not what we're scared of, but okay. It's not really what I meant. Good day to you then, Mr. Windybank.
It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruhodo? Now we can explore at last.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. First things first. It does say uh you know you know you know, look at that, guys. It does say April 13th, not 15th. I can't even get it to change the background. Oh. Look at that. It says April 13th. I was right. Jigsaw, I'm sorry that you were wrong. And I'm sorry that I'm not wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm right. No, I can't even do this. Sorry that you're wrong and I'm right, okay? Sorry. It's the truth. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? April 13th, April, today's day. Okay. Oh man, let me remove this real quick. Okay, that was funny nonetheless. April 15th, today's date.
Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It's an Eastern style page a date calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date.
The perfect calendar for, you know what? They're introducing this to us now because tomorrow a crime's going to be committed, and it's still going to say April 15th. I'm calling them now. The 3's white, though. I know I didn't change the colors. I should have. Oh, Krisha, you still here? The perfect calendar for your tearaway fellow, such as yourself, Mr. Windybank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Inosuke's also Team 5. Man, I have no one on my side. I see how it is. Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say.
Oh yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job.
Krisha, look. Oh, we can't examine it. Krisha, look, Geppetto's parents are here.
Now what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does?
Seems to have 2 little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope.
A stereo fascinating.
It's aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself.
Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment. Just have a look.
Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you'll need to be cross-eyed. Okay. There you go. However, if that is beyond you, it's of little consequence today.
Alright then, I'm going to try it.
Oh, she really? Are we gonna see it? Oh, I was really gonna hope we're gonna see her cross-eyed.
Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see! At once!
Wow, I like how they just throw out, like, the important music in front of us for this. Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose? Hey! It's the jury number 2 from the first case here. What the? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of death is startling, is it not? Stethoscopes are one of London's many fads. They're often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. For hours? Oh gosh. With that music, you really expected to see a crime scene. For real. Why, are people meddling with such
black magic?
It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know what we're examining on the shelf, or just the shelf itself.
What assortment things that are on the shelves here? Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine.
Those are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? A new pawn, or colloquially, pop an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, it's the thinker. Oh, the way he was posing just now? He is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it. I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. Oh no, it was on the shelf. Okay. I'll have to see after he's gone. I saw he was posing some way. I didn't notice what the pose was, but when you said the thinker, right when he moved, I was like, oh, was he posing like the thinker? Okay, no, you meant like on the shelf there is a thinker. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, I see it now. The pun on Windy Bank's name, Pop in the Bank. Pop in the Bank. What was his first name? Oh, Pop Windy Bank. Oh, okay. I forgot his first name was Pop. I really want to examine the horse statue. Oh, hey.
Look at this. Whatever could it be used for?
I have no idea.
Ah! There's a small catch just here. Look.
We're going to open it, aren't we? What is that? Oh, it's like you can put your eyes through it or something.
Well, that's amazing. It's some sort of spring-loaded mechanism.
But you'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. Hmm? What are you two doing? What, us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. Yeah? Okay. Think that's all we can explore here. Alright. Oh! Hey, look! Another one. Ah, no, I thought they were going to look at the shovel.
Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there.
Mr. Windybank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble, yeah. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. The gun. This revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windybank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size.
Oh, you don't mean he...
Gotta protect the goods, you know? Blow his brains out, indeed. Oh, and recompense for his blunder.
Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it?
Oh, so we can't actually examine the stuff on the table. Okay. About the scale. Seems to be a little door hidden behind that. Oh, okay. I was looking at the scale, but yeah, sure. That leads to the storage room where Mr. Windybank keeps articles that are currently in pawn.
Ah, I see.
There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommend it or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windybank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot which he slides under his pillow. How do you know this?
How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Shelms?
He watches you sleep. I am a detective, sir. It's my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain.
Mr. Shelms? You are a wonder.
And the prime suspect at this pawnbrokery is ever burgled. Burgered. Okay. Is that everything? Okay. Okay, now we'll look at this.
Look at this! What could this lovely big shiny box be?
That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country.
Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before.
Shall we listen a while? Ooh, okay, we're gonna listen to some music.
Oh, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels.
Never heard anything like it before in my life. That sounds pretty good, though. This particular specimen is of a larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There's a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. Okay. And before this is swapped out with another disc, and it plays a different melody. Okay.
My goodness, what a simply delightful machine.
Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophones, of course.
Ah, science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace.
What? Only tuppence for it? That ain't fair, you know it. Yonica's barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. What? Ooh, I don't even know who's yelling. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. Have you even had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Is that him yelling? Oh, okay. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her.
Oh yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGloated's trial 2 months ago.
Ah, I don't even know what voice to give her. I still haven't figured that out. I was like really hoping we wouldn't see her for a while. At least I got case 4 as a break. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancellor. Earns her crest among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. It's commonly called the pickpocket. Oh boy.
Good minute, you lot.
I don't know what voice to give her. She eludes me every time.
Hello, Miss Lestrade. Hope you've been well. And what? You remember me then, do ya?
I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure.
So what are you doing in here? Down and out, like the rest of us, nothing to eat. Come to pop that black weasel. Sorry, cute to have ya.
What's about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Yeah. Ah, good day, and unless I'm much mistaken, you would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher.
Ah, Mr. Shams.
So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windybank on your behalf.
Pull the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on, or I'll make trouble for you.
See, like, this voice just... If she was an older lady, I feel like it would kind of, like, work, but... She's like a young girl, so it's like, I can't find a voice for her. There is no voice for her to exist. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I will happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? Oh. Well, there we go.
And you, go on, leave me alone.
She does sound much older than she is. I'm really, like, I'm trying to find a voice. It's gonna keep changing till I find something I'm comfortable with. But yeah, just, I don't know. She definitely gives that, like, more Cockney sounding accent just based off her dialogue. So I'm trying to go with that. But I can't do young Cockney. I can only do, like, older Cockney for women.
Oh, Miss Lestrade, let's just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest.
Sasan can really stand her ground when she wants to.
Oh, whatever.
Okay. No! I regress. It's all this girl's fault. I'm too busy focused on her voice that I can't even think, and I'm examining. Did you have a look at, that's strange. Where's my armband gone? Oh no, she already got it.
What's the problem? Something wrong? Don't suppose. You're looking for this.
Yes, but how and when and how again? I'm just trying to make her voice higher pitched.
I got a talent for it, have I? Diving.
That's bordering on black magic. And it makes what I was about to say about my armband seem a little dull.
So, what do you want to tell me about it then?
She still sounds older. Alright. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade.
Yeah, well, I am, alright? I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. Not a problem, is it?
No, not at all. It's just that, well...
Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the diet, didn't she? Yeah, I could see it right all over your chubby chase.
Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines.
You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo?
Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people?
Well, I don't know what's best to answer that, really. Suppose. Sometimes.
She still sounds older, but I think this is the best we've got so far.
You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade? But not this time, alright? I swear, that thing belongs to me.
The disc that Mr. Windybank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Alright. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bam bum.
Mr. Windybank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? Seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface.
Oh, this is a music disc, you see? For use inside a music box.
In a music box?
What? You don't even know what a music box is? You Eastern lot are too savvy, eh?
I know what a music box is, I just never seen one of these discs before.
The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays.
It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on the disc?
Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There's so many different types of music boxes, you see. British made, German, Swiss.
I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Well, I bet it's conveniently gonna fit the one that's right behind you. Ah, I see.
That's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny.
That's a pocket of lies. He told me he did. He said it was well.
He? Who?
Never you mind. It just ain't right, that's all. That disc worth's good money, I know it is.
Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you?
Ah!
Alright.
She's been in here before, of course. This little tattered Demolion.
I see. Hang on, I wanna see what that word's all about. What was it? Shoot. Tattered Demolion. Ragged or disreputable in appearance, being in a decayed state or condition. Okay.
Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me.
So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today?
Well, if only it were that simple.
Sorry? What do you mean?
Oh, what she actually brought in was a storage ticket.
Storage ticket?
Ah, storage tickets. So, Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has lots of stuff what's needing stowing.
Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious.
The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight.
Oh, so she's just constantly, like, rotating things, I see.
But she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest. I was obliged to return the article to her.
What was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windybank.
The little scamp was worded, ma'am.
A scarf? Oh.
It's the overcoat that she redeemed.
Yeah, she wasn't wearing that before. You're right.
Oh.
What? What's wrong with you? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all of this?
You're just to hear both Iris and Gina together? Or Gina and a grandma? Oh gosh.
The disc is something else, a new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree a price.
Alright. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today.
It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say.
This heavy black coat which you returned to her care, as I understood it?
That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets.
Oh, you mean...
What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady?
Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it?
If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am.
Did she immediately try to pawn it?
For quite a high price as well? This is all rather suspicious, I think. So she's trying to... She wasn't trying to keep the coat there. She was trying to keep the disc there longer. It seems. I think. Okay. Luke, a true gentleman never stares at a lady.
Give it up. I'm just trying to pawn something anyone else would.
Didn't mean to put the period. I like how it comes up as like it's like a link or something.
Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place?
Well, me.
It doesn't really appear to be your size. Do you think this belonged to McGlildit, maybe?
Me, old man. It's me, old man's, ain't it?
Oh, her dad? Okay.
Is it Miss Lestrade?
Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Oh, what the heck? Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Oh, you're gonna be the killer or the prosecutor? He's one or the other. I don't know. I'm still like, okay, maybe it'll just be Von Zykes again to be the prosecutor, but I don't know. Nah, I don't think this guy's gonna be a prosecutor. I do like the hat though. Okay. I don't know what voice to give him. I have like, there are so many characters in these games. Like, this game has so many characters with the jury and all that. Like, I've ran out of voices a long time ago. Alright. He looks definitely like, arrogant. I don't know, let's see. Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen.
What's your problem, eh?
There is no problem as long as you remove yourself. I have a matter to discuss with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Most of the time you forget what voice you give the people.
Look, ain't it obvious? I'm done talking with ya. I ain't done talking with you yet.
You know what? I don't care anymore. Gina, you're gonna sound like an older lady. I'm done. I'm so done with her character just because. This poor girl, I can't anymore, guys. I give up on her, alright? That's how I am at this point.
If you think you're such a jet, you should know how to wait in line.
Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket.
Eh? Who are you? How do you know who I am?
The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy even to remember the faces of your victims, it seems.
What? You mean from you?
Broker.
Yes, sir.
I believe this filthy pickpocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no?
Yes,
You mean the coat's his? The article in question belongs to me. I demand it to be returned at once.
Oh my.
No, that's a lie. What are you trying to pull?
Poor Gina. At least the guy sounds posh. I'm trying. I don't even know. The voice is kind of changing a bit for him right now. Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say, any music box discs too.
No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me, old bads. No, it was. No, it's mine.
Her voice is so different now.
Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation.
Yes. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Oh god, please. I don't want to be here anymore. Oops. Hey, I don't want to talk to Gina first. Oh gosh, please.
Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying?
What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on my life, I ain't never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now? No, I swear it. I swear to God.
It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again? Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Gina's going through. She's going through the circle of life right now. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Come along now, Miss Lestrade. Let's give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police.
Hold on, what's everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy coat. You think I'm the dodgy one?
I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you.
Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I stole something, eh? Come on, let's see it.
Oh, I have evidence, naturally.
You what?
Evidence, oh gosh. Please, I want to escape this pawn shop right now. I don't want to be here doing these voices anymore. I don't want to be here. Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman. Also, is Holmes still with us? Or Sholmes? Oh my gosh. Is Sholmes still with us? Because he hasn't, like, appeared in, like, a minute.
Of course, we only need to consult Mr. Windybank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the names of the person who deposited the article in the first place.
That's true. Yes, brilliant.
I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible.
Oh?
If it's like a private thing. I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. Oh, okay. Could have been in 221B eating bacon and eggs instead here. Yes, I want my bacon and eggs right now. I don't want to do Gina's voice or this pompous other guy, please. I just want my brekkie. But why not? Whew. Sorry about that.
Well, now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity.
Oh, I see. But then, how do you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it?
Oh, it's quite simple. Just a ticket.
Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question?
You got a password for everyone? How are you supposed to remember that? Grits sausage. Of course, it's... Okay, you don't have to pose every time to give us an answer, sir. Professor.
Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without doubt.
A watchword? Interesting. But why didn't you ask her for the watchword? So about these watchwords, Mr. Windybank.
As I've just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret.
Oh man. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes now, was it? Oh, he's looking through that.
Great detectives have no dark secrets, none at all.
You bet Luke came up with that password, or an ancestor of Luke.
Professor? Well, yes. Anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword.
If that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article?
That's right, sir. Yes. Just as soon as the requisite fee is paid.
And I have supplied you with the information you require already. Before the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on the 15th of February. With the watchword of Professor.
All perfectly correct information, sir. But how?
Really, this is beyond a joke now. There's no further room for doubt.
Ah!
Oh. Alright, sir. What is your name? Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the Inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes. We're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. Oh, do you know the lady from the first case? Probably it's your sister or something. Calling it now. What the heck? What the heck? Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. What's with that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first before inquiring about the names of another. Of course, yes, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really.
My name is Susato Mikatoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's assistant.
Got the overcoat on Valentine's Day and decides to pawn it the day after. Yeah, he really liked that gift, huh? I see.
My name is Benedict. Yes, Edgar Benedict.
Speaking of breakfast, I think it's very funny that, like, this guy seems very serious. Like, I'm already getting vibes that he's gonna be a killer. Probably not. I don't know. And he's got one of, like, the most punniest names in this game so far. Why? Why would they give this guy this name? Why? Oh. Enchanté. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Alright, I'm gonna say he's like 25 or 26. Oh, never mind. We don't know his age. A young English gentleman with an aloof and high-handed manner. He appeared at Windybank's pawnbrokery accusing Gina of stealing his redemption ticket. Oh, he looks weird without the hat. Maybe put that hat back on. Now, to the matter at hand. The guy looks like he was like trying to keep a hula hoop around him. You said that his scarf is not yellow. Oh, that would be perfect! Because then it would like go with the white outfit. He looked like a yolk. My overcoat. Return it at once to someone with the style to carry it off.
Every move he makes, every breath he takes, I can't stand watching him.
Yes, of course. Why did they had to? They just had to add that song in here, huh?
Every move you make, every breath I take, I'll be watching you.
Oh, that just looks weird. I think the hat should like be black as well. If that's the case. It doesn't. I don't know.
So, let there be an end to the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Edgar Benedict, sir.
With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. Maybe not with this outfit, Edgar. I think he should have just let her have it. I think it looked good on her.
This is why I ain't grown-ups. Just cause I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar.
The contents of the coat pockets, if you please, broker.
And of course, sir, here's the disc for you.
Just this one.
Pardon, sir?
I was expecting another. That is, I deposited another. Another disc?
Oh dear, I regret to inform you, sir, that what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat.
The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely... for whatever reason, I was reading that in Naruhodo's voice.
The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now.
So, Guttling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you?
Say who's here? I don't know nothing about it.
Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style.
Wait a minute, that disc is mine.
Oh.
What do you think you're doing, you little trick?
You've drawn blood, you filthy animal.
Oh my, yes. There's blood on the disc.
That's because of all those sharp little bumps. Or is the blood already on there? The man must have scratched his finger on them. Or no, maybe she really did just draw blood from him.
I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Or you take it.
Me?
If I hang on to it, they'll have it off me again. So
well, I mean, I can't really do much with it.
So you keep hold of it.
Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? You there in the black library? Hand that disc to me at once, please.
No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars.
Oh, what do I do now? How am I gonna resolve this? Run away! That's how we resolve things. I just want to eat my breakfast, alright? How did he cut himself? And Gina did it? He's wearing gloves. Wait, you're right. That's like, that can't be his blood then, right? She's strong. I don't know. I want to like get Sholmes to help me out here. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? Did you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see? Ooh, I want that. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? After the young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shop. You... Okay. Okay, sure. Cruelly ostracized, as the rest of you partook in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, the 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Oh, that was Ryunosuke saying that. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you?
Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you.
It would seem that my inferences are correct.
Oh, sure, you're not about to tell us that you solved the entire case once again?
My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deductions to be commoditized? How much could I pawn it for? Seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration. But who knows if it'll help to resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Listen to the deduction. Oh my gosh, we're doing one of these already. Okay. So, all this so far feels like it's like a pre-trial type of thing. Like, has nothing to do with like what's going to be like the main point of the case here. Like, kind of like, Spirit of Justice, his final case. How it was like 2 cases in one almost. Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you found yourself in something of a predicament.
Where the blue blazes have you been, eh?
Leave it, return to 221B and eat breakfast. I'm with you there, Jigsaw. That is the best solution. Pardon?
When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be there to help. Straight away. Not
Out late. Wait, what? Out later? Is that what she said? Not an hour later. Okay. Harsh. It's so hard to understand what she's saying. Gosh. I just read it and then I'm like, wait, what did I even say? And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Agate Benedict. Oh. Why? You have, in my eyes, a vertically encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Is she family of Leighton with her true gentleman stuff? Maybe she's like Leighton's great grandmother. Okay, not that many greats. Maybe that many greats. I don't even know what year we're in. I don't even know when like Professor Layton takes place. If they're going with the whole like, hey, it takes place at the same time Phoenix Wright takes place, but yeah, I'm not gonna. That's not canon, so you know. Nevertheless, there are 2 immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon. The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. Oh? And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation, one you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? I just noticed his belt buckle looks like a Omega sign. How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. Okay, we get it.
You see that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction.
Who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. Here we go. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. The great deduction. The game is afoot. Mystery man's aim. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption tickets stolen from you on the street. See if I can keep up with Otto. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. Oh, as revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. Oh. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance has no need of such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you unwittingly clutch of your person exhibits an uncontrollable contradiction. Okay, I can't keep up. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, missing ferrule. The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wood tip. Oh, okay. And yet detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there's only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. It's a pull stick. Wait, did his clothes just rip? Oh, he's poor. You recoil, sir. Is there something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of your next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth beyond this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle, mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod. Oh? It's a broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. But a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. Sherlock's team shovel. I was waiting for that. The moment they were talking about the shovel, I was like, yep. Back to that debate. Herlock, you're right, you're her. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. I'm just gonna like stretch for a second. So if I look like I'm slouching, that's why. We must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel. What on earth do you propose I could expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. If they kept Sherlock as his name, Shirley, that would be funny. I would think so. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewage works, beneath the shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. That flows in a very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dying of the underground tunnels. The master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us what we need to know. A postcard of the Great Exhibition. I'm afraid you've quite lost me. I was wondering if that was going to come into play in the final case, the whole, exhibition. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently stand in the vault of the bank, on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of that bank, the special reserve funds for the Great Exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Then why did you tell all of us? They're looking at the calendar. Jigsaw, I came very close to making a joke about the calendar again. I'm gonna be honest with you. I decided not to, but I thought about it. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this pawnbroking puzzle. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, an impressively upbeat deduction for a great detective racked with loneliness, which you agreed not. Is it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed. The few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence, confidence. My bad.
But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly, in fact.
Ah, it was such a big secret. How would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? The seduction reminds you of a puzzle? Whoop, bloop. Or 20 picarettes. Do, 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 do. The pawnbrokers, patrons. That's what the puzzle's called. Sorry. There could be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal.
What if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you revealed the secret.
Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windybank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all.
Oh, my life, I assure you, I'm not so unscrupulous.
Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Schultz. The puzzle music. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea.
Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure.
Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again, and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab a bottle of water while we see the beginning part again. Okay, so by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, sorry, my mouse got caught on my headphone wire. Yeah, they're just recounting that. Turn off autoplay, jeez. I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? What's behind your back? You got like your fists. Stylish hat. Maybe he's gonna bring the hat in? That silk top hat is wider than white. Only an English gentleman could hope to carry off something so bright.
But it looks so incongruous with the black overcoat, don't you think?
Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course.
How about it, Mr. Naruhodo? I think you look very fetching in a white top hat.
Well, you know, I think it might look rather incongruous with my black university uniform, so... just wear, like, something that would match it. The cane, maybe? You know what it almost looks like? It looks like if you could take the handle off. It's like something you would stick in, like, a keg or something, like, to tap beer. I don't know what they're called. Now you want to draw Naruhodo in a white top hat. Go for it! But don't give him a black uniform. If you're just gonna draw like from the neck up or something, do like a white shirt collar or something. It's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at this beautifully polished brass on the handle.
Yes, but Mr. Sholmes is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane.
Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork. You wanna say the same thing?
Perhaps you could adopt a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. It might rather suit you.
I have a feeling you might argue with the sword around my waist. Yeah, that's true. Be a bit overkill. Oh, hey! What's this? Scribbled writing.
Oh! Look at that scribbled note on the back of the flyer here.
I don't believe it.
What is it?
Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5. Is he like an undercover cop? Oh, also his initials on the cane say AG. That's not his initials. Height 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, rag. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade.
Goodness!
There's even a sketch of her hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure.
And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too.
Oh, that's how you knew what the word was and everything.
Winterbank Pawnbroker, Baker Street, redemption deadline April 15th.
Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Okay, I just want to see if they'll say anything different if I show the initials. Okay, now. Okay.
Take that!
Interesting. Just what brought you into this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade into Mr. Windybank's pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windybank's pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So, you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. You have gone to some lengths to hide the reason of your pursuit for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. Oh wait, why am I reading all this? I already read all this. Okay. What's a ferule?
It's the metal cap commonly found at the end of the cane, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement?
Yes, exactly, and Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane.
It doesn't actually look broken, does it?
No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious.
In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. The initials AG. Oh my god, what if it's my cane? The periodic initials for silver is AG. It's my cane, sir. Look here, Mr. Sato. There's some letters on the handle.
Ah, yes. Those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names.
So Herlock Sholmes would be HS, you mean?
That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously. Oh?
AG. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right?
Take that!
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggett Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Is it my cane? It might certainly be. There's a chance now. In a most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. An uncontrovertible contradiction indeed. Would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't... You said before that you had the cane for years. Ugh. The way he just spins around. So don't you try to tell us you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Oh, his clothes are ripping again. You recoils. Okay, yeah, but we already know about all this. Ah, the handle. It's that he's broke. I don't know. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat, and now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him.
Well, we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue.
Yeah, she probably didn't rob him then. So what we need to do here, somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him.
Oh, the seam on the shoulder there is coming apart, look!
So it is.
Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. But now I think it was probably the sound of this seam ripping open.
If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. Sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he would have a hope of fastening it at the front. If you were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart.
What I'd like to see...
Sorry?
So, how can we make Mr. Benedict run around?
Just really giving this some thought?
Take that!
Split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Yes, because the overcoat is obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so badly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket, this catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windybank. Ah! We got the first thing done. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. Alright. Solved. Do. That is true, but he must have, like, found out about the word. Wait, I don't think we read this before. Whatever. Is your only to where the watchword can be discovered, Mr. Benedict? Okay. Dun 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 dun. I think they did change this around a bit. Whatever. Maybe he written down the watchwords for everything. He didn't write down names, but maybe he did write that down at least.
The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think.
Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword.
Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windybank would never allow you to redeem the article.
Or looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windybank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Notelet? Maybe that's... Look at this, Miss Sasato.
Here's me a memo that Mr. Windybank has scribbled himself.
Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windybank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him, right before their eyes. And an alarmingly clear script as well.
Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see?
Wait. My mind literally just like... Hang on. Okay, so yeah.
Take that!
The method is revealed by the note lid on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response uttered on a nullet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusations against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windybank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword as his commonplace practice, you observed him writing the word professor on the nullet besides the ledger. Oh, okay. And that, sir, was a master plan you devised to steal the pawn article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Yeah. Do 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 do. Bum 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 ba da ba 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 da 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 do 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 do. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets.
Which, according to Mr. Windybank, it's even worth a penny.
And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why?
Wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo.
Could we? Really? We better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. What's this? Mr. McGildet. Oh, his name is coming back.
There's a little scrap of paper stuck into the reserve side of this disc. Look. In a scribbled word or two, it looks like somebody's name. For McGildet.
McGildet? It couldn't be.
But it is, Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget, as for as long as I live.
But why? Why is his name on this? Okay.
Take that!
Here we go. You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads from McGildet. Ah! Mr. Magnus McGildet, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGildet was a man of unsurely small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you squeezed yourself into. Oh! Ah! Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict. He's gotta be like an undercover cop, perhaps. I don't know. The final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGildet. Ah! He did it. It's a great crime to acquire an item deposited by Mr. McGildet. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGildet. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. He must have definitely gotten Gina to work for him, like several times.
Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind.
Pray tell, Mr. Sato.
Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the code would have been redeemed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited.
Today is April 15th, so 2 months ago today.
Would have been 15th of February, sir, that's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see.
What? But that suggests...
Yes, 15th of February. It's precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place.
Oh, so is this more evidence or something? Or something else?
And 10:30 in the evening. It's precisely the time in which the terrible events were unfolding.
So, like, case 3 is really going to be connected to this case then, huh? That's cool. I like that. Like, usually case 3 of every Ace Attorney game is, like, the most redundant, dumb case ever. But, like, the one in this one was pretty good. It reminds me a lot of, like, Miles Edgeworth, too. Prosecutor Pass had, like, a really good third case. So Joseph is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However... Oh! He's got a gun. I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Oh! What do I do? Shoot me, I don't care. You ain't gonna shoot. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Mr. Windibank?
This is my shop. Can I allow any harm to come to my customers if that were to happen? I should have to take my own life.
Mr. Windibank, no! Alright, that's enough. Oh, good. Inspector Gregson.
Inspector?
That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's all this about, eh?
Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment.
Put the gun down, scumbag. It would seem you have the upper hand. Right. You lot have some explaining to do. I don't appreciate you being bothered with some petty agri bargy.
Petty? Mr. Windibank fairly nearly met with his end.
Yeah, by his own gun as far as I can tell.
Oh dear.
And the whole of Britain could meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of this case I'm supposed to be working on. What? What on earth is this case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. He's getting away! Ah! He's getting away! Get after him, lads! Whistle the beat officer, too! A little slippery seal, huh? There's been a spat of thieves at pawn shops around here recently. So we fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble.
Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed.
Now then, Mr. Permanently in Mourning. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that whatever it is of Mr. McGillicuddy's down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course.
No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine.
I'm sorry, miss. Anything belonging to McGillicuddy has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. Ah. So we handed Mr. McGillicuddy's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and we're summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. Wow. Okay. Well, that was a lot. save your current progress right now. Alright, investigation part 2. Well, that was a lie.
See? That's why I hate grown-ups. All they do is feed your pack of lies and take stuff away from you.
Oh really, Miss Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm?
What?
Oh my, surely you were given that.
Yeah, they let me keep it. I threw like daggers at him for long enough. He went through the pockets and then said, go on then, have it, before telling me to scrap her. Always pays off giving people a look when you hate them.
I can't help feeling that it's going to get you into serious trouble one day.
What I really want, once it was that nice shiny dusk mine.
Music box disc? But Mr. Windybank said... Oh, Mr. Windybank said it was practically worthless.
I think I'm gonna go and have another bash. Give him a long and hard star.
I think not, Miss Lestrade. We shan't enter Mr. Windybanks again today.
Why not? That's not fair.
Can't be helped, I'm afraid. Police are investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Windybank.
What? That desk is mine. I had the ticket for this coat and it was in the coat's pocket. And there should be something else and all. That's what was Rotten's Cove said, ain't it?
Yes, he did mention something about another article, didn't he?
Well then, that's mine too, whoever it is.
She's really pushing her luck. Miss Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat. You've had your haul for the day.
Yeah, and it's all your fault, Shows.
So what are your plans now? Will you dine with us this evening? Yeah, what about breakfast? You kind of ruined that already.
Huh?
Iris would be delighted to cook, I'm sure, and I might entertain you with a modest violin recital. Huh?
No, Todd.
Oh?
I wanna come around your place, eh? Have you lost your head or something?
Jigsaw's probably, like, mad right now, like... She had the opportunity to eat with Herlock, and this girl passed. Jigsaw would be like, hey, that was an opportunity of a lifetime.
Oh dear, she's gone.
And having reviled on me quite unnecessarily, I might add. I can't help wondering. Perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. Once she's had a chance to calm down, I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Free food, why wouldn't you? Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set a place for our potential guest at the dinner table this evening. Could you say no to that? And one more thing. I should be glad of your company later, too. Sorry? You'd probably faint if he asked you. I believe I will have a rather splendid surprise to show you.
Oh, how exciting! What is it?
You shall have to wait and see, Miss Sato. Until later, then. So what? We just go back to our office? Do we go back to his house? I guess we go back to his house. Oh, that theme though. Oh, that's good. It's so peaceful. Okay, we're good.
Ah, Susie and Runo, come in, come in.
Good afternoon, Iris.
Thank you so much for breakfast this morning.
Even though we didn't get to finish it.
Oh, don't mention it. Goodness, look at the time already.
Busy as always?
I'm preparing everything for dinner this evening.
Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you?
Oh, yes. After all, we have a special guest joining us. Guess who it is? Go on. You'll never guess.
Look at those little eyes of her shining.
Oh dear. It is awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Jenny. Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise. Yes, that's wonderful news.
Iris seems overjoyed at the idea.
I can't wait to learn what some pickpocketing tips from a real professional.
Oh yes, that does sound like fun. You guys are humoring this?
I'm sure that's entirely appropriate, are you, Mr. Naruhodo?
By the way, Iris, what's Mr. Sholmes up to?
Heavy? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back.
You know what I noticed is the right side is like Iris's area. It's very bright, pink, cheerful. Like even like the wallpaper, all that, right? And you come over here and like I guess it's just like a shadow cast on the wallpaper, but it looks more like maroon, darkish, more mature. So it's kind of interesting that like both sides of the office definitely reflect Iris and her lot. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. I beg that you won't speak to me. Sorry? Don't know who you are, but kindly take your leave. Wow, that's rude. As you can see, I'm not here. Yeah, you're invisible, all right. I don't know how to respond to that.
I do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything.
Yes, I see.
Really? He behaves just like a child sometimes. Really does. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they?
Who's the parent and who's the child? Except that Iris is clearly the parent here. I'm gonna think of it. Wonder where her real parents are. And you like both sides?
What's the matter, Uno? You have ever such a funny look on your face.
Oh no, it's nothing.
I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes? You're wondering, am I right?
How did you...
Oh, Uno, I can read you like a book.
Oh, this girl is dangerous.
Don't worry, you can ask me anything, I won't mind.
Alright. Wait. Did we ever do this? Do you mind if I showed you this, Iris? It's just a boring old thing, really, but...
Oh, I don't really like boring things.
Ah. Looks like Japanese modesty is easily misinterpreted by young Western children.
I mean, who does like boring things? No one wants to be shown something boring.
Guys, can I show you something that's really cool and not boring at all? Like, real quick. I want to show you. This is called a bottle cap. It's very circular, and it's used as a lid for bottles. Very interesting. This was made probably, I don't know, sometime this decade, but it was invented probably, you know, quite a few decades ago, if not a century. Nah, it's boring. Look, I tried, okay?
Come to think of it, you're always introducing things with, this is boring, but it's a bad habit, you should stop it.
Be sure to let the entire population of the Empire of Japan know on my return. And she shut that down fast. So by Jenny, you mean Miss Lestrade, the young woman from the McGilda case 2 months ago, right?
Yes, who had stole my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Although, after that trial, I invited her back here and we had dinner together. And now we're the best of friends.
She's probably still trying to steal your stuff.
What a lovely tale. Yes, now, if I bump into her in the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase after her down the back alleys.
Oh, jeez. Interesting idea of friendship.
And then I let her have the latest color smoke grenade I developed. Oh? There's so many beautiful colors in the world. Jenny wants me to make a whole rainbow.
Suppose this means you've let Miss Lestrade keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you?
Yes, that's right. I've got bored of it anyways. Haley always reacts the same way when I shoot him with it now.
Well, how about you just don't shoot people with it? Poor Hurley.
Oh, I can't wait for Jenny to arrive. It's been too long since we last came over. She last came over. I'm so excited.
I just hope she does actually come.
I'm sure you've been wondering why is it that I live here with Hurley, haven't you?
Well, it has crossed my mind that... And where are your real parents?
My mommy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Mommy passed away when I was born. And around the same time, my father, well, he had to go to a faraway land because no one of the cases he and Hurley were working on. Because of one of the cases he and Hurley were working on.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley?
Yes. Daddy and Hurley were always solving mysteries cases together.
You didn't mention that before.
He wrote them all up in his diaries. That's what's in the metal chest over there.
Really? You recorded them all?
So you mean it's true, Mr. Sholmes? Really did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases? Oh yes, I mean, it's always nice to have one, isn't it?
So Mr. Sholmes' partner was your father.
Exactly. Haley told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But that only made me want to look even more, so I opened it up. And found your father's memoirs? Yes, so I asked Hurley, who wrote these? He nearly fell off his chair.
Oh, so she basically took up the mantle of writing the books.
But then he told me that's when I found out that the author of all those accounts was my father.
Soraya's father was Mr. Sholmes' partner. Da-da-da, ba-ba-ba.
I practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was tiny when he took me in. So it came as quite a shock. When Hurley told me he wasn't really my daddy, I mean...
It must have done.
Wonder why Mr. Sholmes chose to tell you, and at such a young age. Hurley says it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me.
Oh?
Well, having lived with Hurley all these years, you might say that his ways have rubbed off on me. There are some things I just can see. Especially lies. I almost know when people are lying before they open their mouths sometimes.
Right.
Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, actually.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she's only been the original author of the Herlock's stories. Okay, no, her dad only wrote diary entries, I got it.
I always assumed Mr. Sholmes simply told you all those thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything. As soon as he solves the case, it all but vanishes from his mind.
No, that's true.
Oh, I see. The other day, it was so embarrassing, as usual. He totally forgot about the case he just solved. So the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again.
Why? Okay, that's interesting.
It was quite a shock for everyone.
You can say that again.
You share your father's surname, don't you, Iris? That's right, Wilson. Daddy is Dr. John H. Wilson. I learned from his diaries that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. That's what prompted me to study, and study so that I could earn a doctorate as well.
Iris' father who went to some distant land. And is a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson? The court would now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Man, that seems like forever ago. You know what's interesting though is how much time passes in this game compared to like other Ace Attorney games where like cases usually happen back to back throughout the whole game. While this one, it's like there's months in between some cases. So it's like this game's almost been taking place for like half a year now. Sorry, visiting people of medicine at Imperial Yume University. And the man who, in the most bizarre circumstances, lost his life just before we left Japan. Mrs. Sato?
Yes?
Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time.
I think that would be for the best.
And she must know too. Or think of it too. Ah, my dear fellows, how good to see you.
Ah, Mr. Sholmes!
Whatever you do, make your presence known to me before. Well, no matter now. So, how the devil are you? And this guy was like 180 5 minutes ago. We've been with you most of the day. Goodness, really? Did you really forget? Does he have like a problem with his memory? That bad? Or does he have split personality, maybe? I don't know, nah. I'm probably just reading too much into it. It's probably like a character trait is all.
Do tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed?
My violin? Whatever are you talking about, dear madam?
Oh,
Never mind that now, I have something far more interesting to show you. Behold, my dear fellows.
oh, another music box disc?
No, not another disc, Mr. Sato. This is the one Gregson demanded we hand over as evidence, Mr. McGilded's disc. What? He stole it? Or did he just, like, copy it?
Oh my!
Then what's it doing here? You know, at times, Mr. Naruhodo, I think that though I have an undeniable term for detection, I may even be more adept at larceny. Larceny. My bad. Okay, never mind. So, for a second, I thought maybe he used, like, science to recreate it.
Oh, that would be wonderfully exciting. I'd be your pickpocketing assistant. And Nuno could be our guilty lawyer if we ever got caught.
Right.
Plus, Susie has been such beautiful handwriting. She can write all our amazing crime notifications. Yes, I'd be delighted.
I'm just going to pretend this conversation never happened, I think. Yeah, I think that'd be for the best. Music box disc. I don't understand. How did that disc come to be in your possession? I thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Quite correct. And that sort of uncompromising attitude is precisely why I always carry some of this. Chocolate or caramel?
That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes.
Your one and only friend in times of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken. If you will humor me, my dear fellows, cast your minds back to when the good detective confiscated the disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is, Mr. McGilded, down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Yes, of course. If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we may have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hands, did I not? Yes, you did, but I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. I pressed the disc into a pair of bars, just like this. Okay, so he did, like, make a copy of it. That's amazing! The disc and all the minuscule protrusions have made an image in the caramel. How big is that caramel, though? Because that disc was huge! And then he just carries this much amount of caramel around with him at all times? How does it not melt either? Okay. Indeed, this caramel is quite exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Oh, it's not the ordinary caramel, I see. Yes, Hurley, you go, baby. Simp. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Jigsaw. Suitably soft for making impressions, but resistant to melting. The result of a precisely controlled solution. Ah, okay, I see. Still, you carry that much amount of caramel with you at all times, huh?
How extraordinary!
Carrying a pair of these on one's person frequently proves very useful indeed. Take our house key, for example. A simple press and its unique form is duplicated. I can enter anyone's property at will and never without high sucrose nourishment. Sucrose nourishment. Please do not tell us about how you can commit crimes in front of us. Yes, it sounds illegal. From the image, I was able to create this. I confess I was most curious to know what manners of music would issue from this disc when played. What if it's like a sound? Not music.
Do tell us then, Mr. Sholmes. What music does the disc play?
Yeah, can we hear it? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. Okay, we're gonna have to go back to the pawnbroker probably and play it there. No idea. None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I'm afraid not.
Goodness, you don't know, you know. Inside a music box is a special metal piece called a comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances the different teeth of the cove as they rotate past it, making the different notes. The first music box is to be invented using a rotating cylinder with protuberances on it.
But over time, a new type of player was produced which uses discs such as these. With that development, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide all around the globe.
Why exactly?
Because the discs are easy to produce and can be interchanged to facilitate a playing of different tunes. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing music boxes as a result.
It is wonderful to be able to enjoy music, even when no performer is present.
It is the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an unsurmountable problem. What do you mean? As you may imagine, the construction of one firm's music box does not match that of another. We have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. Oh, so you can't just play it with any music box then. Okay, my bad. There's no resolution to this problem. I'm afraid it's quite intraceable. I see, so that's why. Naturally, I tested the disc in those few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. That one sounds a bit eerie, doesn't it? The results were equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I'm presently engaged in acquiring an example of all the music boxes ever made in Europe.
Every single one?
Jeez.
That's heavy for you. I was taking things too far.
But, my dear girl, an unsolved riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. But surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes, that is certainly true. In the worst case, I shall just have to ask you to vacate the attic room. What? No. Magnus McGilded, not a name I expected to hear again so soon. Yes, it's only been 2 months since that Grizzly case. Do we need another flashback? We've been flashbacking to that for the last 2 cases already. Mr. McGilded perished within hours of the trial's conclusion. Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows still now. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash. Not a shred of evidence remained. And with the man's death, the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. Even though we successfully established Mr. McGilded's innocence in the trial,
the newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case.
The murder of the brickmaker, Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. I mean, is this all gonna, like, really come into play? In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. Although Mr. McGilded was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed. Okay.
Well, it's time I started getting things ready for dinner, I think. Ginny will be here before long.
Thank you, Iris.
Oh, well, you must let me help you then.
Of course, Susie. There's plenty to do.
I think I shall investigate the condition of my faithful performing partner. Now then, where did I leave it? Let's be a lesson to you, Mr. Sholmes. Never leave anything too precious with the pawnbroker. What if he left it back at the pawn shop? That would be hilarious. Like he just forgot because of everything else going on at the time. Yes, you might be right.
Well, that reminds me of something Mr. Windbreaker said before. He said that he had a manuscript of Iris's in pawn, didn't he?
Did he? Yes, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Were his words, I believe.
So you heard known about that, did you? I expect you were as incensed as I was. Oh, yes. The idea of such a wonderful story languishing in Mr. Winterbank's storeroom, gathering dust.
My dear madam, I'm quite sure I've told you already. The pawnbroker's storeroom is the safest place for it, more secure than a bank's vault.
And what about your starvardness, Hurley? Was that safe and secure?
Well, there may be the occasional mix-up, caused by a certain impervious someone not too far from me now.
Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskerville story, Hurley? Oh, it sounds so exciting, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it.
Yeah, how does she know that? Oh, did she already get a little glimpse?
Ah!
Busted! What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room?
Susie, what did you just say? You said the Hound of the Baskervilles? What? How could you know the full title? Well, that's
because Mrs. Sato is such a great fan of all the stories about Mr. Sholmes, of course. Well, she wouldn't have known about it because it's unpublished.
But Bruno, the Hound of the Baskervilles has never been published.
What?
When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me that I wasn't allowed to publish it yet.
I don't understand.
That's why he said he'd keep it safe. Until it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see.
That's why the manuscript is at Windibanks.
And yet, how could Susie here know its title? Well, Hurley, what's going on?
Ah! What is it, Mr. Sholmes? The periodic guest has arrived. Oh, great. Quick, hide the valuables. Miss Lestrade.
This was my idea, and you were welcome. I'm going.
I'm cool with her leaving. It means I don't have to voice her dialogue. I'm cool with that. No, wait, Miss Lestrade. No, don't stop her. Oh, gosh darn it, Ryunosuke. You don't know what you're doing to me, man. I'm gonna quit this game because of you, and you'll never become a full-fledged lawyer. How about that? You're about eagerly awaiting your arrival. Yes, eagerly. Haven't we, Iris? She looks so sad.
Oh, yes. Just right there, Jenny. We'll have everything ready in a jiffy. Come along, Susie. Right, of course. It's a pleasure to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please, make yourself at home.
Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come along in. What say you to some Mindalus, son? I won't take no for an answer. Meddlesome it is, then. The kitty's back. We like the kitty. We stand the kitty.
Meow.
That evening, Iris prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. Mr. Schoen's violin performance was in no way meddlesome, and Gina, as we came to call her, taught us all how to steal things from one another without being noticed. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves well into the night. Now enjoy this nice evening before something happens. You know that's about to happen. Someone's about to die or something. It was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it?
Oh yes, Iris's cooking was truly divine.
I feel as though I can still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Sholmes' violin even now.
Best of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court.
Please don't.
Morohato-san, could I consult with you about something, I wonder?
What's the matter, Sasato-san?
It's about that telegram I received.
Ah, the one that arrived first thing this morning, I suppose. Oh yeah.
I've been summoned.
What? Summoned? What do you mean? As a jury member?
The telegram is from the Lord Chief Justice office. Lord Stronghart has asked to see me.
Oh, that type of summon, okay. The Lord Chief Justice, when?
Tomorrow morning.
What? Then we have to start preparing at once.
Oh no, that won't be necessary, Naruhodo-san.
It's probably like come alone type of thing.
I've been summoned alone.
Alone? What on earth for?
I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow.
What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Oh, who could that be, I wonder?
Good evening, friends.
Oh, Iris. Hello again. Hello.
And Gina, too. Yes, Ginny's going to stay with us tonight. She's going to sleep in with me. Isn't that right, Ginny? Well, yeah. How lovely. Let me make a pot of tea. You know, I've learned so much today. Oh, what in particular? All those things Ginny showed us, wasn't it wonderful?
You mean all those pickpocketing techniques? We had fun trying them out on each other, didn't we?
I think I've awakened a natural talent. I could earn a living from it.
You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. So what brings you up to our humble quarters at this late hour?
Well, you see, I came to return this.
Oh! Wait. Oh, shoot. I wish I would have known like a little bit beforehand to see if it was in our court record. It probably was like just added. Oh. Wait, what? That's mine.
Oh my, however did you? I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it.
Oh yes, I've forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius.
So anyway, here, you can have it back. Not that I really understand why you wear it, though.
Thank you.
Alright then, good night.
Yes, good night.
So this is your office, is it?
You mean she's never been up here in those 2 months we've been here?
What do you think, Ginny? I think I wouldn't fancy my chances with Valoya what lives in a place like this. Yes, me too. Ha 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 ha.
Seems as though Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about.
I suppose. She probably wants to talk about the manuscript.
Yes, I suppose she probably does.
Iris, I suppose you're hoping to talk about the manuscript, aren't you? Aren't you going to tell me? I'm so sorry. I need a little more time.
What? So it's not something simple like she read it? Was she involved in this case, maybe?
Alright, I understand. Hope I haven't made you feel awkward.
She must have read it. I mean, not read it. She must have, like, been involved in it or something. Maybe that's also connected to why she's being summoned by Stronghart.
Oh no, not at all, Iris. Not at all. I don't know what all this is about, really, but... It's a story you've made up, is it, Iris? That mental script or whatever you call it. It's not exactly a story that I made up. It's something I wrote in Daddy's diaries.
Oh.
Daddy's? That's right. I don't suppose I mentioned it to you before, Ginny, but my daddy was Hurley's assistant once as partner. Eh? They solved all sorts of strange and mysterious cases together. Is that right, mister?
Apparently so. Not as surprised as you are, though.
Daddy wrote all the details of every single case down, you see, in his diaries. So I study them and write my stories based on what actually happened. So, where's your old man now, then? He had to go away on urgent business to a faraway land, and he'll be gone a very long time.
Like eternity.
So I've never really met him. Oh, right.
Come to think of it. I don't know anything about Gina's parents either. Perhaps we should ask her? Iris, this Hound of the Baskervilles story. Take it that it's another tale inspired by your father's accounts?
That's right. I thought it was fascinating. But it's different somehow from the other cases, I mean.
Oh, how?
I don't really know, but it must be special in some way. Because after I've written it and showed the manuscript to Hurley, he turned as white as a sheet. It's the first time I've seen him like that.
Okay. Pains me to have to say this after you toiled over it for so long, Iris, but this story must not be published at this time, under any circumstances.
But why not? It's one of my best works.
I'm not at liberty to say, not now. So please, do not ask me. Wonder what it's all about.
Alright then, I won't.
I do solemnly swear that I will explain everything one day, Iris, when the time is right. And that's how the manuscript came to be with Mr. Windibank, isn't it?
Yes. Hurley said it had to be somewhere very safe.
That really gets my goat, that does. He's treating you like a child. It means that's what it is. Giving secrets like that.
I'm sure Mr. Sholmes isn't trying to be mean.
Yeah?
He said he wasn't at liberty to talk about it. I'm sure there must have been a very good reason.
I think so too.
You're a lot too trusting for your own good. Because you can't pull the wool over my eyes. Jones is lying to Iris. I bet that on my life.
What?
Hurley's lying to me?
I don't think that's the case. It's so weird that you gotta do this to talk to someone else, but then again, you've never had like two people to talk to in the same room at the same time in any other games before. Unless I don't know anything about your parents, Gina.
I got any, have I? Never did have. Oh? Look, the East End's full of orphans like me. No one wants nothing to do with us from the moment we're born. We're not even our mums. But we all stick together. The older ones look after the little ones and make sure they get by. So that's why you're a pickpocket?
Oh, so she's like an older sister, okay.
Nah, David's my life. I love it. I get a kick out of it every time I lift some pompous idiot's purse.
Oh, never mind then.
That's all we go for to eat. I'm like Robin Hood out there. That's how I see it.
Okay, I guess she still does it, but she just likes pickpocketing in general, but I guess to an extent she does try to help the younger kids.
Oh, Gina. I do think about it sometimes. What it'd be like to have parents, I mean. I always thought it would make life, everything right. But having listened to what Iris just said, sounds like having parents isn't always easy either. Oh. I mean, if you know what you had them, and you don't feel like you always wanted to meet them. It's true. I do want to see Daddy, do so much. Oh, Iris.
Sholmes' lie. Gina, what did you mean when you said that you know Mr. Sholmes is lying to Iris?
Well, I reckons he popped that manuscript or whatever, right? Come on, that's obviously a load of rubbish. Oh my, why would you think that, Gina? It's simple, if that story was really in old Windibank's storeroom, there's always someone halfway around the world. In other words, you could know about it. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. But Haley would never do something like that, I'm sure of it. Bah! Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Bare-faced liars, the lot of them. You ain't just realized it yet. I'm telling you, that manuscript there, Windibanks, you'll soon see if you had a look. Even if you think you can trust him, I don't. That Sholmes is a liar like the rest of them. If I'm honest, I have wondered if Haley's telling me the truth sometimes.
Oh no, she's planting them seeds of doubt.
See, Oh, but I don't mean that I think he sold it. I mean that I sometimes wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. Somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Iris.
Oh my goodness, look at the time. Come along, Jenny. We should go back downstairs. Yeah, alright. Please don't mention any of this to Hurley, will you?
No, of course not. Good night then, Iris. Good night, Gina.
You must let me make breakfast for you tomorrow morning, I insist. Oh, yes, please. I can't wait, Susie. Good night, then.
So we're getting a lot of mysteries right now for this case. Iris, it sure is easy to forget, isn't it? Sometimes she speaks just like an adult. But deep down, she's still just a child.
Well, I think it's time that I turned in for the night too, Naruhado-san.
You right? Dr. John H. Wilson, Iris' father, but also the name of the murdered visiting professor at Yume University. Can't be a mere coincidence. There's something deeper going on. Is he like falling asleep? It's about to happen. Something crazy. Naruhado.
Mr. Naruhado.
That voice. It's Mr. Sholmes. Oh, okay. I thought it was, Sasato. What's going on in the middle of the night? It's Miss Lestrade. She's gone. Gina? She's supposed to be sleeping in Iris' room, but her bed is empty. Oh, she's an independent young woman. She probably decided to go home, no? I think not. I'm speaking to her before she retired. I received the distinct impression that she was looking forward to breakfasting with Miss Sasato. You think she took the disc and ran for it? I don't believe that girl has gone home. I've been waiting for over an hour now. Over an hour? Oh. You indulge me. Get out of the window, my dear fellow. Is she, like, at the shop next door? What's this about? What are we about to see? Oh, no. Wait a minute. Why is there a light on at this time of night? It's Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery. Mr. Windibank's. Oh, no.
It's simple. If that story was really in the old Windibank...
Oh, no. We're probably gonna have to defend her. Windibank's gonna be dead, isn't he?
There's no way someone from up around the world, in other words, you, could know about it. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you.
Gina, gone? Seems you have some knowledge of the situation, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Oh, no. No, not really. Well, anyway, we must investigate. At once. Oh, Mrs. Sato? Okay, I guess she was up too. 16th of April, it's 1:14 a.m. Baker Street. The door to Windibank's, it's open.
And the lamp is burning.
It must be Gina, mustn't it? Let us hope it's nothing more sinister. What? Come, there's not a moment to lose. Clearly something is afoot inside. Okay. Ah! The bloody April 16th! Of course this goes. Of course that was gonna come into play. after all we've done. Oh my god. You posted Ryu's pic in Discord? Oh yeah, let me get see this real quick. 1 sec. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Hang on, I gotta show the stream real quick. 1 sec. For those that want to see, Jigsaw just made this. That looks pretty good. She gave him the hat from Benedict. I like it. I like the background too. Oh man, the bloody 16 April the calendar. Oh yes, there is. What the? Ah! No! Mr. No! Wait. Oh, I thought Sato got shot. Sholmes got shot. Mr. Sholmes! Who was that? A short little person and a tall person. Has Sholmes been shot? Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. But after them, go. Right. Oh no. Blast! I lost them.
Hello, what have we here?
Oh, it's just a regular. The alarm was just raised from this pawnbroker's shop. Would you know something about that? Officer, come with me. It's my friend, Mr. Sholmes. He's been shot. Shot? The policeman close behind me. I ran back to Windibanks. Oh, I'm scared. What? No, don't let him be dead. Don't let him be dead. He can't be dead.
Mr. Sholmes!
Mr. Naruhodo.
How bad is it? Never mind me, but there's much at stake. Behind that door. In the storeroom.
Where's the Bobby?
Hurry!
Oh. It's locked. Can I look inside? Oh, when the bank's dead. No, and she's there. Yeah, we're gonna defend her.
It's Gina!
Oh my gosh. That's locked, so save your current progress right now. That's something else, huh? Guys, I already know what happened. Windibank killed himself. He always thought about shooting himself. I solved the case. Well, we don't have to finish case 5. We just solved the last case of the game. All right, game over. All right. Bang. Yeah. I'll be right, Mr. Naruhodo. After them, go. Oh, look at that creepy doll. Behind that door in the storeroom, hurry. Oh, they put the gun in her hand. It's Gina? I didn't notice that in the cutscene. From that moment, Windibank's pawnbrokery became a crime scene. Everything that followed happened in a whirlwind of activity. The arrival of the police, the preliminary investigation of the scene, and the questioning. It was just before dawn before I was allowed back to my lodgings at 221B. Man. Oh, yeah, they're probably tired. All this because of the book. Oh, Iris.
A telegram came. The last said was wait at home.
Oh yes, we asked one of the policemen to have it sent. It was simply impossible to come back.
When I woke up, I was all alone. Haley and Ginny were gone. Everyone was gone. What happened, Bruno?
Poor Iris, she's trembling. She's obviously trying very hard not to let herself get too worried. I'll explain everything that I know.
Something awful has happened, hasn't it?
Yes, I'm afraid so. Societos. Well, you know, we're gonna start backwards this time around.
Where's Susie, Bruno?
She's still at the police station.
Oh, why?
I expect she's still being questioned. Police said they wouldn't be finished for a while.
Why aren't you there, then?
Well, I didn't get a good look at the criminals anyway, so they weren't questioning me for long. Mr. Sato stayed behind at the scene to tend to Mr. Shom, so they didn't get started until later.
Ah, I see.
Besides, one of us had to come back to be with Iris. I'm glad Inspector Gregson agreed to me leaving early.
You should have let me know and I would have come to the station. So where's Haley then? Is he still there investigating the scene?
He got shot!
He really ought to have some breakfast. It's not good for him to miss meals.
It's not good for him to have a bullet hole in him. I don't want to worry you, Iris, but I have some news about Mr. Sholmes. He was taken to hospital. He was taken to hospital this morning. I think they forgot to add the word the. He was taken to hospital this morning.
What?
Well, when we entered Windobanks, a gun was fired and he took a bullet.
Haley was shot. No.
It's alright. His life isn't in danger.
Really? Are you sure? Where is he? Which hospital?
He's at St. Signers. They're tending to him there.
I must see him at once.
I'm sorry, Iris, but you can't.
Why not? That's not fair. I'm a family member. I should be allowed.
Not legally. No, I mean, nobody can see him at the moment. He's not allowed any visitors. They're preparing to operate, you see.
To operate?
Poor thing.
Oh, poor Haley.
Oh. It was the two thugs who were in Mr. Windobank's shop. They shot Mr. Sholmes when we disturbed them, you see. It was pitch black inside the shop at the time. My mind went totally blank, I'm afraid. I just froze. After them, go! Maybe if you were quicker. After that, I ran out into the street, but they were long gone. I shouldn't have hesitated. I'm so sorry, it's my fault. I let them get away.
I think that's a very good thing.
Sorry?
Well, if you'd seen which way they went and chased after them,
Yeah, they probably would have shot him.
you might have been shot as well, Rune.
So obviously they're going to take Gina into custody and she's going to be put on trial. But are they not going to believe us when we say that there was two other people there? I mean, the fact that Sholmes got shot means that, like, hey, there was other people there. I don't know. What's up, Stocking? Is a Smash Direct next Sunday? No, I did not know that. Hey, it's kind of perfect because I got the Tater Tourney next Sunday. Huh. You guess that's a British thing? Sometimes they just don't add the word the. Really? Oh. I just know, like, any game with text, there's always a chance that they don't add, you know, there's like a grammar error or something, but yeah, it might be that too then. It might have just been like they didn't add it.
On top of everything else, I couldn't bear that.
Oh, Iris. Convince that Windobanks. No, I didn't mean to click on that. Gosh darn it. I moved up. Is this not be perfect? It was. I mean, I believed it because there's still one more Smash character left. I thought they would have, like, you know, had that last person revealed. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Iris, but Mr. Windobank is dead. He was shot. We discovered it in the early hours of the morning.
Oh, yes, I had a feeling.
You did?
I saw all those police carriages pulling up outside his shop, so I knew something must have happened there.
When we entered Windobanks in the small hours, we disturbed a gang of two thugs. They ran out into the street and I chased after them, but they got away.
So it was one of them who shot old Mr. Windobank, I suppose?
I don't know, but that's not what the police believe at the moment.
Oh, why not?
They've arrested someone else as their prime suspect, you see. Gina.
Ginny? But why?
Well, the thing is...
No, Ginny wouldn't do something like that.
Really? That's amazing. Yeah, I get you. I know. None of us think she did it.
Then why have they arrested her?
She had a gun in her hand. I'm sorry, there's nothing I could do.
I don't understand why they arrested Ginny. It's not fair. What about the two thugs that were at the scene? Why aren't they the prime suspects? After all, they shot Hurley dead, didn't they?
No, I mean, Mr. Sholmes isn't dead, Iris.
Ah, this is all so horrible.
The thing is, Mr. Winnebank was found on the floor in the storeroom where he keeps all the deposited articles. And the storeroom door was locked from the inside. Oh, no. They are not gonna even... Nah, I'm already gonna go ahead and say this. That little cubby hole in the door, someone could stick their hand in there and lock and unlock the door. Don't even give me that.
I see.
But he wasn't alone in there. Gina was found next to him on the floor as well.
Oh no!
And according to the detectives who investigated afterwards.
Don't tell me. There's no one else in the room?
Yes, exactly. How did you know?
It's the only explanation.
Yes, the only explanation indeed.
What do you mean by that, Bruno? Well...
Ugh, what can I say? I'm doomed if I agree, doomed if I don't. You got a pretty long arm then? I guess. I mean, I have to visibly see the door again. But I mean, I thought that I could have sworn the little hole was like right here, and the lock doorknob is right here. So I don't know. We got to see this. Oh, you're finally going to see Shang-Chi? I'm afraid I need to go out again now, Iris. There's not much I can do at the moment. I can at least try to find out how Mr. Sholmes and Gina are getting on.
I want to go too. Take me with you, Bruno.
I can't just... Oh, that's Iris.
I can't just stand around here waiting.
Not Shang-Chi better? What else is out right now? I'm not sure how I feel about taking a 10-year-old child to the scene of a murder. Look. If only you knew that later on in life, Phoenix Wright takes pearls everywhere, and that kid was like 7 or 8 at the time. It's fine. I think at least. Was she that young? Something like that. Well, if not, at least around her age. But I'm pretty sure she was like 8, right? In Justice for All, she was 8? I don't know. But I don't want to leave her all alone here either. Alright then, Iris. Perhaps you can help me?
Oh yes, I'd love to.
Gina's at the prison. Mr. Sholmes is probably in his hospital bed.
And don't forget we have to visit the crime scene. We need to conduct a thorough investigation.
I can see you're ready for action. Imagine Iris would appreciate going to the hospital sooner rather than later. I mean, technically speaking, we can't go to the hospital. I get now, they're probably like, hey, you can now go to the hospital. Alright, I guess I'll go check on Sholmes. Yeah, Sholmes. April 16th. St. Signers Hospital, Ward 3.
Hurley! Oh!
Here. Don't tell me this man already left the hospital. Do not tell me he already left and is investigating. He probably did.
He's not here.
No, that's strange. The nurse definitely said he was in the bed by the window, didn't she?
Oh, I know what's probably happened. Hurley was being a big baby, and the bullet wound wasn't that bad after all, so he's been sent home.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe or not. There's no question that it was a fairly serious injury that Mr. Sholmes suffered.
Oh.
Hello, what have we here? Oh. Sword is off limits, no visiting, so what are you doing in here, eh? That's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure, like, it would be better to watch that in theaters. Not even just for the price, but yeah, the whole experience on a big screen with other people. Yeah, that's cool, dude. Have fun.
I'll have you know we're Hurley's next of kin.
Eh? Oh, well, begging your pardon then, ma'am, sir. Little lady and a curious Eastern gentleman. The great mystery solver has a mysterious family, eh? That's how you see us. Well, I'm sure.
Where is he, Constable? Where's Hurley?
I believe he's currently in the operating area, ma'am. Undergoing an extensive operation.
Extensive?
It's been several hours since he went in. Oh yeah, so maybe we can't do anything here then.
Oh dear, is he going to be alright?
It doesn't appear to be working, you see. The anesthetic, that is.
Oh,
I've heard a report that the gentleman claims he may have a little too much to drink last night. Coffee, that is.
huh?
Anyway, I think it'd be fair to assume that he won't be back for several hours yet. I see. Thank you, Constable. Perhaps we should leave and come back later.
Oh, poor Hurley.
Alright. Against my better judgment, we're just gonna get this over with now. We're just gonna have a little chit chat with her now. Get it done. Get it over with. Hello, Gina. Wait, they didn't confiscate that? Okay.
Oh, you still have the grenade launcher Hurley and I made.
I wish you wouldn't point it at me all the time, though.
What are you here for? Jenny.
I have a feeling it's because of us that you've ended up in trouble. So we were thinking that we might be able to help you.
Well, you can't.
Sorry?
You heard, get lost. Don't be like that, Jenny. I know you didn't do it. You never shoot someone, I just know you wouldn't. You think you know me? Pull the other one.
Poor Iris. Alright. Take care, dude. Have fun. Hope it's good. And get some popcorn. You can see Iris's backpack. You can. Is that like little charms or something on it? Oh, that's cute. It's like a little charm. One is supposed to be Sholmes and one is supposed to be her, huh? Because it looks like the big old blue thing. I don't know if is that a bunny or not. Looks like he's already the detective thing, the little pink thing. That's gotta be her. That's cute. Oh.
I got the first idea about the likes of me. I'm a thief. I pinch people's purses when they're walking down the street. That's how I get by. If I saw me chance, I'd sneak into a pawn shop any day of the week. Just see what I can lay my hands on, get it? That's the kind of person I am. But Jenny, I'll be in court tomorrow, they said. Some cove came by over before and said he'd be a lawyer for me or the like. So it was my right or something. But I told him to get stuffed. I don't need no lawyer, I don't need no one.
She couldn't be staring at me anymore, obviously, if she tried. Granny thieves. Stop! I'm trying, Jigsaw. I'm trying, okay? It's so hard to do her voice. Especially after 3 hours. 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Why are you being like this, Jenny?
Legal representation. I don't understand, Gina. Why did you send the public defender away?
You wanted me to sign some papers, representation papers or something like that. It's all gonna be rigged away, the whole trial. Depending on me because I'm a kid. That's what grown-ups always do.
But you might not get the death penalty, at least.
Why do you think that? Because that's how it's always been for me, growing up in the back slums my whole life. You do what the grown-ups tell you, you always make you dragged off by the coppers or worse. I've had it happen to me before and all, been thrown out and nearly snaffled at the back of it. You can't trust no one, that's the point. As soon as you do, you're gone to grass or dead.
Gina, listen. If you like, in tomorrow's trial, I could...
Forget it! Jenny! Don't you trust me now? Nah, I don't. Look, I'll ask you nicely now. Just leave me alone.
I can't with Jenny's voice. I can't either. I really can't. I cannot either. I'm with you, and I know, I feel your pain. Believe me, I wish I had a bigger range of voices. All I'm saying is I pray that she does not appear in the sequel. If she appears in the sequel, oh god, please do not let her make an appearance at all. Oh, that's why I came to the prison first. I'll be honest. I was like, yeah, I want to do this before I investigate that crime scene. I just want it to rip it off like a band-aid. Will you tell us what happened, Gina? Last night at the pawnbrokers?
There's nothing to tell. They couldn't pay me, so I broke into the place and started going through the storeroom. But the old bloke walked in on me, and you know the rest.
Is that semi better?
Alright, Jenny. Why would you do that? Ain't it obvious? The place is full of stuff I could sell for a shilling or two. But it ain't easy, you know? It's a lot of work, and half the time you don't even get nothing.
Is that really why you broke into the place?
What?
Are you sure the true reason wasn't something else?
Oh, give it a rest. What would be the point anyway, huh? Nothing I can say would make a blind bit of difference. Please tell us, Jenny, we believe you, whatever it is. Believe me? Don't be daft, you can't believe nothing. Everyone lies all the time. And you know what? When it comes to lies, I'm the biggest of the lot. I've told some unforgivable lies, I have. But what do you mean by that? Unforgivable lies.
Alright, gosh darn it, now we're gonna have to ask about unforgivable lies. Please, let's just get to the point in my suffering. What did you mean before, Gina, when you said you were the biggest liar of the lot? Why don't you tell us what these unforgivable lies you've told are? Maybe we can help.
Sorry. We're out of time. They're gonna want to question me now. Jenny, please. Oh, yeah. Why'd you give you this? Something to remember me by.
Picture of a cat? Is this your cat? There's a lot of cats in this game, you know, I just realized that. Photographic print of a really adorable cat. Something on the back of it, maybe?
I found it in one of the pockets of this coat. Ain't no point in me having it. Wonder what a little photograph like this was doing in the pocket of that overcoat. Anyway, don't bother coming on again. Bye. Oh, Jenny.
Alright, hang on, we're going to look at the back of that picture. Oh good, we're done with her. Okay. Ha 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 ha! There is something here. Look at the back of this print here. There's something written on it. It's so cute to see Iris here too.
13th February, 9 o'clock p.m. Article deposited 1 small box. Loan amount paid 10 shillings. Redemption deadline 13th of April, 9 o'clock p.m.
Huh. So there was something else being deposited 2 days before? So this photographic print is redemption ticket?
13th of February. That could be significant. It was just 2 days before the murder of the omnibus, wasn't it?
Small box. That doesn't tell us much about it, does it?
Bruno, if Mr. McGilder still had the ticket, then presumably he never redeemed the article. So do you think the box might still be present somewhere in the shop?
Ah, yes. If it's something Mr. McGilda deposited, we need to investigate. Alright, and it'll probably be on the shelves then. Well, then why didn't he ever go back for it? If it was before the murder, he would have had time. There's your 13! Oh my god, you're right! You're right! You're right! Oh, that is so perfect. Oh. Ah, heck yeah. Oh man. Oh, that's cool. They actually have them moving around.
This is where it happened then, last night.
That's right. 2 thugs I told you about were obviously ransacking the place looking for valuables.
What from the policeman in here. Wouldn't know anything that had happened. There's no sign of a disturb.
What are you talking about? What about the blood? Still Team 5, though. No! No! Okay. Oh, you can't type? Okay, whatever. Okay, that works. Okay. There you go. Now there's a poll to vote on. Got a poll now. Okay. No, you're right about that, actually. I'm sad that I can't vote.
In fact, if anyone, it's the police who seem to be the ones doing the ransacking.
I know what you mean. Like a gang of organized criminals all dressed in black. Boy, I heard that. Oh, hey. Inspector, good morning. Suppose I ought to thank you for your vigilance last night. We got to the scene before it was disturbed at least. Shame you let the two rogues get away, mind. Krisha, I need you to vote! Krisha, quickly! Choose Team 3! I need you to choose Team 3, Krisha, please! Krisha, we can't let Jigsaw win. Oh, I just checked! We got one for not Team 5, let's go. Thank you. We're we're okay. We're making a poll, Krisha, to settle the score once and for all about the date. If it was Team 3 or Team 5. And it's a tie, so Jigsaw didn't win. She voted Team 5 for crazies, because she's crazy. I chose something different. No, you're good. You made 3 of the options, not Team 5. Hey. You like, you know, I'm the poll master. I get to decide. You won half. This debate isn't over yet. Clearly. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
I thought you had signed extra men to the beat around here, Gregsy.
She calls him Gregsy.
Now look what's happened. Hurley's been injured because there weren't enough police on duty.
Your ladyship. Oh yeah, I forgot. Like she pays him. No one told me you were coming.
I expect you to take full responsibility for what happened to Hurley, and see he has the very best medical care.
Of course, your ladyship. The very best doctors in the capital are attending to him as we speak.
But I don't think it's Reno's fault that the rogues managed to get away, is it? Chasing criminals is the police's job.
Absolutely, your ladyship, as you say, ma'am, as you say. The gent in black is totally blameless. Everyone's in agreement about that. Would you believe it? It's like a completely different person with Iris. Talk about personality change. Oh, Remy Manus, are you thirsty, your ladyship? Perhaps you like some juice? Some nice, refreshing, fresh fruit juice?
Oh, why? Are you thirsty, Grexy? I have some of my special herbal tea with me if you'd like some.
She just carries that with her on a well. Oh, and he's got a cup and everything.
Ah, lovely. That very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship.
I don't even recognize him like this. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll go ahead and talk with him and get it out the way. So how's the investigation going, Inspector?
Nothing to it, really. Very simple case, this. There's some very definite evidence. We're just about to charge that diver we arrested last night, in fact.
Gina, you're going to charge her?
That's right. Should be able to bring her before the judge at the Bailey tomorrow.
Definite evidence, you say? What is it? Come on, show me.
Your ladyship, as much as I wish I would oblige you, I'm afraid.
Ah, I see. You've already captured the pair of thugs who broke in here last night, have you?
What the?
And you're going to put them on the stand as witnesses, are you?
How? How could you? How? How could you possibly know that?
Oh, great. But they shot someone. They're not just witnesses, they're criminals themselves.
I had a feeling, that's all.
Remind me never to try to keep a secret from Iris. Have you arrested the two men who shot Mr. Sholmes, have you?
Well, yes, they were rounded up pretty quickly by the lads on the beat.
Miss Lestrade is being held at the prison?
She should be. That's assuming she hasn't looked the key from the jailer, of course.
Oh gosh, you're right. I didn't think of that. Can you tell us anything about Mr. Sholmes? What's his condition?
Sorry, I'm not at liberty to divulge that information. Scotland Yard matters are strictly confidential.
Plus, it's a medical thing, so yeah, I get that.
I know he's being operated on at St. Sinus. Why can't I see him? I'm family, you know.
I'm terribly sorry, your ladyship. It's the hospital's policy, no visiting at all.
Oh,
The bullet must have hit an artery in his midriff. He's lost a fair bit of blood.
oh no.
It didn't seem too bad in the first hour or so. But a hemorrhage like that is soon enough to make even the one and only Sholmes pipe down.
Mr. Sholmes is human like the rest of us, you know.
Well, anyway, he's having emergency surgery right now. They gotta stop that bleeding.
But he will be alright, won't he? They'll be able to make him better.
Of course, your ladyship. It'll be right as rain before you know it.
Really? How do you know?
How do I know? Well, because of course. Yes, because Mr. Sholmes is such a great detective, that's why.
You better pray the doctors have a better grasp of what's needed to make someone well again.
Oh dear. Please don't die, Hurley.
I'll report to your ladyship the moment I hear he's out of the operating theater.
Alright. I couldn't help noticing, Inspector.
What? Down with it, sunshine.
Well, there seems to be a marked difference between the way you talk to me and Iris.
Watch that sauce, Sonny. I'm a copper. We don't go in for favoritism.
But he's right, you do treat us differently.
I wonder if he knew her father.
It's because of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes stories, that's why.
Oh.
I crop 'em up and down. I crop up in 'em, don't I, Inspector Tobias Gregson?
Oh, well, yes, because you're an acquaintance of Hurley's.
What did you write about the Inspector, Iris?
I don't remember, really.
It's one of Sholmes' lines. Gregson is the smartest of Scotland Yarders. That's how he put it.
Really? Was that it?
Oh, did I write that?
And you know what that one line did for me, eh? Right next month, my pay doubled. Doubled, I tell you.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's amazing.
All because everyone at the yard reads them. They read all the Herlock Sholmes stories. They even set up a fan club for me.
I thought you said you didn't like the attention, though.
Of course, that explains everything. It was around that time that you became such a toady to me.
Oh.
Can you blame me? All it takes is one bad word from you and Mr. Sholmes could change his tune about me. Gregson? No, the great detective will say he's getting quite overrated these days. Think what happened to my salary that came out in print, eh? The whole thing gives me the willies. I can't tell you how many nights of sleep I've lost to worrying about it.
That would never happen, Grexy.
Every month when the new Rants magazine comes out, my hands are trembling as I turn the pages.
Oh, how awful for you. Here, have some of my tea to settle your nerves.
Ah, lovely. So very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship.
Total.
Oh yeah, something I was supposed to talk to you about actually, Mr. Naruhodo.
That's what is it.
Got an important message for you. Clean forgot about it until now.
Important message. I wonder what it could be. You gonna tell me what this important message is then, Inspector?
Yeah, it's about that young lady who's normally by your side, your assistant.
Oh,
Dear Susie, is she alright?
she's at the station, isn't she? Being questioned, I believe.
Nope, not anymore. She had to head off.
Head off. Where?
To Lord Strongheart's office, of course, he summoned her.
Oh yes, of course. I forgot about that.
One of the whipstocks took her there in a yard carriage after
We finished questioning her. Hey, she got to ride in the carriage like she wanted.
but she asked us to tell you she didn't have the fare for the return journey and to go and meet her there. She's got a nerve using Scotland Yard as a bloomin' message service.
I see. Well, thank you for passing that on, Inspector.
Why did Susie have to go see the Lord Chief Justice?
She didn't tell me. I'd better head over there to the Lord Chief Justice office to fetch her straight away. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. I wonder if they're gonna even let us investigate.
Alright then, let's see what we can uncover.
Boy, what do you think you're doing, Sunshine? Can't touch anything in here.
Alright. Oh, but we were hoping to investigate.
It's a crime scene for Pete's sakes. No touching.
What's the problem, Grexy? Reno's a lawyer, you know that.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry, your ladyship. Ever so sorry. The rules and regulations are a thorn in my side. Of course, if Mr. Naruhodo was to have been properly appointed by the accused, that'd be another matter.
The accused?
You could show me some representation papers. I'd be only too happy to let you nose around.
Did you hear that, Reno? You need Ginny to sign some representation papers.
Looks like presenting the detective here with the correct paperwork is the only way. Okay. Let's go ahead and pick up Susato. Oopsie.
Bum 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 bum.
Yes. No matter how many times I come here, I always get the same sense of oppressiveness somehow.
Do you think the place is oppressive? I think it's normal.
How so?
I mean, look at that suit of armor over there. You can't take that seriously, can you?
Maybe it thinks the same about you. So everything is clear with regard to tomorrow's arrangements, I trust. Yes, thank you very much. There they are, Susato-san and Lord Strongheart.
I wonder what they're talking about. They both look very serious.
Very good. There's nothing further to discuss. You may return to your lodgings. No doubt you have much to do in preparation for your return to your homeland. What? Why are you sending her home? Wait, what did he just say? You return to your homeland? Susato-san!
Mr. Naruhodo?
What was all that about? Mr. Naruhodo, thank you for coming to collect your colleague. What's this all about? Why were you talking about Miss Sato's return to her homeland? And then, tomorrow? Yeah, what's going on?
Tomorrow? What about Jenny's trial? You mean... she's been formally charged now? Oh dear.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot going on.
Whew.